Hey guys, I had some questions after our Zoom today. Um, I know there were a whole lot of us in there. So some of you guys said that it was a little bit hard to hear me when I was explaining the Geogebra assignment. When you click on that and you open it up, I'm just going to go through a quick explanation. Um, so this is really just an exploration kind of activity. Like I'm just seeing what you guys can figure out about circles and how the equations are connected to all of these different properties. So on a number one, it says move h along the slider. How does it transform the circle? How does it impact the standard form equation? So here's my standard form equation here, right? And I can see it just looks like x squared plus y squared equals 1. And my circle right now is centered at 0, 0, and I can see that it has a radius of 1, right? The distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle, that's 1. So I can see that the equation's equal to 1, and I also have a radius here of 1. When I start moving h, ooh, it's moving all around. Okay, so notice h is not changing the size of my circle, it's just sliding it left and right. And that's taking the x value for the center of the circle, and that's changing that. So this value now matches whatever I have for h, right? If h is 1.8, then the x value for the center is 1.8. Well, in the standard form equation, we've got x minus 1.8 squared, whereas before it was just x squared. And you can see that as I move h, whatever this value is what's being subtracted from x right here in your equation, okay? Now, as I move k, it moves my circle up and down. Again, it's not changing the size of it, it's just a translation, right? So a couple of things about k, since it's moving it up and down, notice that it's matching with the y value for the center of the circle. And in the equation, now we have y minus whatever that k value was, instead of just y squared. But this is still equal to 1. When I start changing r, that does change the size of my circle. So when I had a radius of 1, then this equals 1. When I move my radius up, see if I can get it on 2. Yeah, pretty close, right? If this was 2, then we would have a radius here of 2. And notice 2, and this is now 4. If I move this up closer to 3, okay, if that's close to 3, man, that's really, really close to 9, right? So hopefully we're seeing a relationship there between, oh, there it goes, between r and the value that we have right here. If I move r up to 4, look, this is now 16. If I move r up to 5, look, this is really close to 25 when this is really close to 5, okay? All right, so that is kind of what I'm looking for out of the first 3 questions there. Now, number 4 is where we're bringing the equations back into it. So the standard form is really the one that we've been looking at here. On number 4, it says if I want the circle to have a center at -3, +2, okay, well, if I know that I want my center to be at -3, then I'm going to take h, and I'm going to move h back to -3. Or as close as I can get. That's close enough. Okay, and then 2, that's the y value. So I'm going to take k, and I'm going to put that at 2. All right, so my center is at -3, +2. There we go. Okay. And a radius of 5. So I'm going to take r, we'll slide that up to 5. All right. Here's my circle. And I can see the equation in the standard form, right? X plus 3, because this was a -3, and then y minus 2, because k was a +2. And then we got our 25 here, because the radius was 5. Now, number 5 is the one that most of you guys had questions on. So on number 5, it says using the equation, and then it gives us the quadratic form of the equation. And we really not looked at that one a whole lot. So I want you guys to notice the links between the standard form and the quadratic equation. As we were changing h, right, when h is changing, in the quadratic equation, there are only 2 parts that are changing. This part with the x at the end of it, and then what this is equal to. So if I know the equation should be x squared plus y squared, well, I already have x squared plus y squared right here, right? And I need this to say minus 10x. So if I know that moving h is changing this, then I'm going to see if I can move it until this gets to be a negative 10. So I'm going to put this back where I started from, or as close as I can, right? Go back to radius of 1, 0, 0, pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to move h until I get this right here to be at about negative 10. And again, if it's not perfect, that's okay. We can get it close. All right, so I can see when I'm moving it this way, look, these are getting larger, and so I need to go the other way. All right, negative 10. Okay, negative 10.1, that's pretty close to negative 10 right there. Well, then we want it to be a plus for y. Well, since k changes the y value of the center, let's slide k around and see if we can get this y to be a positive 4. Okay, so I can see I'm going the wrong way because this is minus, right? And it's getting further, so let's go the other way. Get up to a positive 4. Oh, man, I had it perfect. Let's see if I can put it back. There we go. Let's see if I can fix h. There we go. Okay, so h is at 5, right? And that made this be minus 10x. And then k is at negative 2, and that made this be a plus 4y. Well, this right here is related to both h and k, but it's really being affected more by the radius. So since we have h and k where they need to be, let's take r and let's slide that around and see if we can get this really close to negative 20. All right. Oh, I'm going the wrong way again. And as close as I can to negative 20. All right, and when I get to negative 20, we've got r equals 3. So if I scroll down so you can see what that circle looks like, here's our circle. Okay, we have a circle that is centered at 5, negative 2. H was 5, k was negative 2. And then we have a radius of 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, so on all of these questions, you're just kind of investigating to see what you can figure out. Then you'll come back to your Google Classroom, click on the Google form, make sure you sign in, and submit your answers there. Now, when you submit that Google form, it is not self-grading like most of the Google forms are, because it's a lot of open response questions. So I think when you submit it, it tells you your score is 0. That's not actually your score. I'll go back in and put in what your actual score would be for those. Okay? All right. I hope this has been helpful. As always, you can send me an email, comment in Google Classroom. Let me know if you have other questions.